Okay, we got 30 seconds and we can begin.
All right. So we are calling this meeting to order.
Give me just a few seconds, Darren.
Kansas City Board of Adjustments, June 23rd, 2020, at 5:46.
Wait, Darren. Wait a minute. We got to wait 30 seconds before we can start.
Meeting. We waited 30
The
seconds.
meeting doesn't start. Do what? We
We're
have to
there.
wait for about 30 seconds after she turns it on YouTube.
We killed that much time. Go ahead.
All right. We'll call to order the special called meeting of the Planning Calvert City Board of Adjustments, June 23rd, 2020, at 5:46. So our first order of business is to recess into a public hearing to hear public comment on Cracker Barrel's request for conditional use to sell alcohol.
Okay, Mr. Morris, if you will, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed.
As the board's aware, Cracker Barrel is applying for an NQ2 restaurant license and a special Sunday retail drink license so they can sell alcoholic beverages by the drink alongside food. And we were hoping that you all would grant the conditional use permit to allow for that application to move forward. We've already applied with the state and we've sent our materials on to Mr. Ward for the local application for an alcohol license. And we won't be able to get either license without your approval. And I would encourage the board to grant the conditional use permit, as I think alcohol sales at Cracker Barrel would be a benefit for the community, particularly with your regulatory license fee, which would take funds from the sale of alcohol directly into the police department of Calvert City, along with increased business through distributors and wholesalers entering Calvert City. I've also submitted the floor plan, the site map, as well as the lighting map for the property, and the properties nearby are vacant, so there would be no risk of nuisance to neighbors.
Does anybody need to see the site plan? We can put those up so everybody can look at it, but you should have received a copy of it.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I've reviewed it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
The
got
only
a
thing,
copy
Mr.
of
Morris, I would ask is there will not be a bar in the public area. Is that correct?
Correct. So it'll be exactly as you see Cracker Barrel currently. The drinks will only come out alongside meals. You can't sit at a bar and be served drinks.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that would show that indicate that on your plan. So that's what my assumption was. So I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Do we have any additional questions for Mr. Morris? No, sir, I don't.
It's
Don't believe
scary.
so.
Do you want to go ahead and proceed on then with Ms. Hargroves?
I believe so. But seeing no other comments or questions, I mean, I don't believe we have any public unless Ms. Hargrove would like to ask a question. We will move on to item number 2 on our agenda. Receive public comments on application for conditional use filed by Karen Hargrove for a third accessory structure on her property.
Okay, Ms. Hargrove, you need to unmute your mic.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. You
Mhm.
swear to tell the truth.
Yes.
Okay. You may proceed. Just tell them what you want to do.
Oh, we're tearing down the old structure that's on the property. I believe it's like a 10 by 12 storage building. And we're putting up the newer, was it 20 by 18 or 25 by 18, all metal building. It's just enclosed on 3 sides. We're using that for garage storage space. because we cannot build onto our garage because it's already too close to the property lines.
They currently have 3 on site. To put this one in, they're going to remove the one on the plan that you see the X in. That should be the one actually closest, I guess, closest to the house, or the most
Yeah.
northern of the accessory structures would be removed once this other one is completed, keeping it 3 accessory structures. And I don't believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I don't believe that it reached 50% of the principal structure, the 3 of them together.
I don't believe so.
It should say in compliance. Well, no. Yeah. I think I'm mistaken there. I think it just shows the full, the total amount of square footage is what it shows there. Ms. Hargrove, what was you remember the square footage on the house?
It's a little over 2,100.
The
Okay,
drawing says 2180.
Yeah.
2180, okay. And then you'll have a 10 by 12, an 18 by 25, and then the main accessory building at the end of the driveway is was it 12 by 16, wasn't it? Something like that?
Yeah, it's not very big.
And what was the last one that you put in? It should be on that. Crystal, you may be able to show the last one. Site plan?
The old
Not
plan?
Yeah, not the 2020, the one last year from 2019.
All right.
Okay, yeah, it is the 20 by 24. The 10 by 12 on the right is the one that's coming out. 10 by 12 on the left was the new one that was put in last year. So you got to, let's see, 2180.
Is the 25 by 18 the one that's going in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a total of 1,050 in accessory buildings
so
and 2180 in the main building. So you're not quite 50% yet.
yeah,
Right.
I thought that was the case. Thank you, Crystal.
Welcome.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Dean?
I'm good.
Oh, and
No,
it'll be
sir,
on
I'm
a
good.
concrete pad.
It is going to be on a
Yeah,
concrete
proper.
pad, you said?
Yeah, we're gonna put it on a concrete pad, just that way it's nice and level and everything there too.
All right. Any other questions before we close the public hearing? And hearing none, we will consider the public hearing closed and reconvene into our regular meeting for addressing 2 issues. First action of meeting is approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion concerning the minutes?
I've read the minutes and I recommend we approve them as written.
I'll second that.
All right, Gary makes a motion, Willie seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think that covers it. Anything else on the minutes? All right, moving on to considering the 2 adjustments. Conditional uses. First, Cracker Barrel one, do we have any concerns? I don't believe there are any, but go on to addressing the findings of fact. Finding facts, or is that what we're doing?
All right. I'll go ahead and advise the board that alcohol sales, all retail alcohol sales are allowed by conditional use in an HOC 1. And so it is in fact a conditional use as established under the provisions of Article 7 and does appear on the official schedule of uses in Article 11 for the zoning district involved. So, do you find adequate evidence showing that such use at the proposed location is in fact a conditional use as established under the provisions of Article 7 and appears on the official schedule of uses in Article 11 for the zoning district involved?
Yeah, he was here when I got here. Turn the radio down.
Yes.
Yes.
Darren, are you,
Yes.
is John going to ask that, John, are you going to poll the,
Crystal
can.
is.
John?
Yeah.
Crystal
I
will.
can.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Okay.
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory.
Yes. Do you find that the proposed use will be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objective of the city's comprehensive plan and or zoning ordinance?
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and that such use will not change the essential character of the same area?
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses?
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use may be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer and schools, or that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use will be able to provide adequately any such services?
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory.
Yes. Do you find that the proposed use will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost for public facilities and services and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community?
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Mr. Gregory, Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Is Jim missing now? Jim, are you not there any longer? Jim? All right. You'll just need to reflect. You'll need to reflect, Crystal, that Jim did not vote on that question.
I thought I did. I must
Okay.
have broke up, but yes, but I'm a yes on it.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, he's back. All right, good. Okay, do you find that the proposed use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions or operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare by reason of excessive production of traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors?
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
So,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles.
Yes.
do you find that the proposed use will have vehicular approaches to the property which shall be so designed as not to create an interference with traffic on surrounding public thoroughfares?
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer.
yes,
And do you find that the proposed use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of a natural, scenic, or historic feature of major importance?
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory.
Yes.
All answers are in the affirmative.
Other than the requirement that business be conducted as presented in the application, are there any other concerns or conditions that the board wishes to discuss or to impose prior to voting, or to suggest imposing prior to approving or disapproving? That being the case, the board is free to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Cracker Barrel conditional use permit.
All right, Willie makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Andy Lyles.
Andy Lyles, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Anyone opposed, like sign? And there are none. All right,
Let me just tell Mr. Morris, Mr. Morris, you need to make sure that Cracker Barrel understands that because this conditional use permit has been issued, if they were to redesign the interior of that building so as to affect the layout that's proposed on this conditional use permit, they would need to bring that back to the city to address it, because that is a part of what was presented in the application. Was that understandable?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, board members.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Ms. Hargrove. Any additional conversation there before we go to?
All right,
I don't believe there is any, so we can move on with.
with findings,
Yep, we're ready for you on the findings.
are we ready? Okay, I will, prior to beginning the questions, I'll advise the board that Article 8.5 subsection A states only one principal building and two accessory buildings or structures may be erected on any one lot unless additional buildings or structures are expressly authorized by conditional use permit. That is the authority that authorizes you guys to approve this third building, accessory building, if you determine that the facts are otherwise demanded. So, do you find adequate evidence showing that such use at the proposed location is in fact a conditional use as established by the Calvert City Code of, Calvert City Zoning Code?
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Seals,
Yes,
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory.
Yes.
Do you find that the use will be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objective of the city's comprehensive plan and or zoning ordinance? This area is an R2 zone, zone for residential use.
Mr. Seals,
yes,
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and that such use will not change the essential character of the same area?
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Sills,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer.
yes,
Do you find that the proposed use will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses?
Mr. Sills,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use may be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer and schools, or that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use will be able to provide adequately any such services?
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Sills,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost for public facilities and services and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community?
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Sills,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions or operation that will be detrimental to any persons, property, or the general welfare by reason of excessive production of traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors?
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will have vehicular approaches to the property which shall be so designed as not to create an interference with traffic on surrounding public thoroughfares?
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns,
Yes.
Mr. Sills,
Yes.
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory.
Yes.
Do you find that the proposed use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of a natural, scenic, or historic feature of major importance?
Mr. Trailer,
yes,
Mr. Gregory,
Yes.
Mr. Sills,
Yes.
Mr. Lyles,
Yes.
Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
All answers are in the affirmative.
Having made these findings, the board may now either discuss any additional conditions or requirements for the conduct or for the granting of this conditional use permit, or may entertain a motion to simply grant or deny based upon the application as submitted.
Do we have any addition to it? And do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Sound
Who
like a
made that motion?
a mo- Andy, I believe. Yes.
Andy and Jim together. I think
I
you
will
got your motion
try.
second there.
I will second it.
Willie seconds it. All those in favor, say aye.
I
Aye. Anyone opposed, like none? And hearing none, I believe it passes, so. Turn it back to Greg or John. for what's next.
And Ms. Hargrove, we'll have your paperwork probably the first of next week. So when we get done with that, get everything signed, where it's already set up, you could already have somebody bring that in. You'll be first of the week for the CUP, Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm putting it on I'll try to get it done tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay, all right. You will send that to Crystal directly, please. You have any questions, Ms. Hargrove?
No.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
You're muted.
So when can we start pouring the concrete?
You can begin tomorrow,
Okay, thanks.
so,
That's what I need to know.
yeah. I don't have a way to sign it, but Crystal, if you'll make the note and I'll initial it when I get back.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
The only,
that
the
brings us
other,
to the end of our meeting.
the only other thing that I have, Mr. Chairman, is that everybody is due for their training, House Bill 55 training, but right now it doesn't look like we're going to have anything scheduled. Everything that has been scheduled to date has been canceled, and it just, as we move forward, it's all getting canceled. I don't know what they're going to do yet. I brought the question up
Hey.
as whether they would do some web training, but I've not, at this point, they have not given me any indication that that's going to happen.
I was talking to the administrator for McCracken County yesterday, and he said they are going to do some training, so we might be able to coordinate with them.
Okay. Very good.
Just keep us in the loop.
Well, I'll just like to say on a lighter note here, I really have missed y'all. And I can't wait to see everybody. And I've missed giving Gary a hug. And I apologize if this is too much. But I just love y'all and I miss you. So,
Andy, I was going to comment that I'm
Thank you.
kind of okay with this.
yeah, well,
Thank
that's
you, Will.
understandable. But I love y'all and I have missed you. And the feeling may not be mutual, but that's okay.
He'll be over to Lone Valley Road to give you a hug shortly, Gary.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, do we
Thanks,
have a motion
Brad.
to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We adjourn 6:13 PM.
I'll second the
All right.
motion.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe that's it.
Thanks,
Please.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
See you guys.
You.
Everybody.